Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar on Guarding the Gates, in which we will examine how under-vehicle surveillance systems and other advanced video intelligence solutions can be leveraged to mitigate against various threats at today's military bases. I'm Joel Griffin, Director of Marketing for North America at ISS, and I will be your moderator for today's program. Before we get started, there are just a few housekeeping items that I want to go over first. First, today's webinar will be broken down into several parts. Following a quick introduction of today's speakers, we will briefly discuss who ISS is, our rich history, and defining the video intelligence space. Next, we'll take a look at contemporary military-based security challenges, followed by an overview of our SecurOS UVSS solution and why it's trusted by public and private sector organizations the world over to provide comprehensive vehicle screening. Finally, the last 10 to 15 minutes of today's program will be reserved for Q&A with you, our audience. You can submit a question at any time using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we will answer as many of these questions as we can verbally during this time. Finally, at the conclusion of today's program, we will randomly select an attendee who stayed on for the duration to receive a $50 Amazon gift card. We are excited to welcome a full panel of speakers for today's program. From the ISS side, we have Russell Compton and Kenny Geronimo, and we're thrilled to also welcome two U.S. Air Force veterans, Colonel Patrick Ballard and Colonel Matthew Boschert, who will provide their unique perspective on today's military security challenges. And I'd like to take this time to give everyone a chance to formally introduce themselves to the audience, and we'll start with Russell.
All right, thank you, Joel. I appreciate it. It's great to be here. Thank you to the attendees for attending. Thanks to Kenny, our engineer, who will be on and show a little bit of a demonstration later. And for Colonel Ballard and Colonel Boschert, really appreciate having your expertise. I'm excited about you guys introducing yourselves and joining today. Just a quick background on me. I've had business and worked in security for several years. It's been more focused on aviation. Since I've come in and worked with ISS, we do work with a lot of government agencies and military bases. And I'm just excited to be here to talk about some of the solutions we have and what they have in store for you. So thank you guys for joining. I'll turn that over to Kenny. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Russ. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kenneth Geronimo. I'm one of the support engineers here over at Intelligent Security Systems, and it's a pleasure to be with you all. Basically, I will be taking care of all the technical questions and providing just an overview of exactly some of the products that we're going to be showcasing you today. So I look forward to speaking with you all, and let's have a great webinar.
I guess I'll go next. I'm Colonel Patrick Ballard, retired United States Air Force, 25-year career, primarily in the logistics and aerospace, flight line and back shop oriented activities, but with the mind and towards security and amongst all of that and the flight line environment. And looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, good afternoon, or wherever you happen to be coming from. Good morning, good evening. My name is Matt Boschert, retired Air Force as well, 28-year career, primarily focused in security, Air Force security forces, and a mission support group commander. Glad to be here, glad to contribute. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead now and get started right into the presentation. Turn it over to Russ. Russ, take it away.
Thank you, Joel. I appreciate it. Excited about today. Here's a high-level agenda. ISS has been around for a long time. We'll talk a little bit about what we do, but for the following, what we'll cover, we'll do a webinar overview and we'll talk about speaker introduction. Those things have been completed. I'll get into a minute with our ISS background, who we are, what our specialties are, and then we'll get into solution introductions that we're talking about from military bases today, and what are the threat mitigation use cases. And then finally, we'll have a demonstration of the software, how it works and functional, and Kenny will come in to help support that and answer technical questions. Then we'll get in Q&A, and throughout, we'll have our military expertise kind of chime in and give us their feelings and feedbacks on the solutions. And I'm always learning something new from Colonel Ballard, and with a new relationship, Colonel Boschert. Thank you guys for joining today. Let's go to the next slide and introduce ISS, I believe should be. We've been a global leader in video intelligence for nearly 30 years. Our CTO was the founder and has continued to remain really strong in what our direction is and where we're moving. We have over 40 different patents and technology. We'll talk about one really particular patent today that has to do with the UVSS, the under vehicle surveillance system. But there are solutions that tie in with it that really help identify who's driving the car or what car is at a known vehicle. And we'll kind of explain how the solution moves. But we've been pioneers in facial recognition technology way back in the early 2000s, as well as license plate recognition. With over 450 employees, 200 of those are engineers. That's carving the way for where we're headed in the future with new solutions and announcements. And then somewhere throughout the world, where we're strong in South America and in the Middle East, we have 3.5 million cameras carrying our solutions and using those. So we're excited about that. And we'll go to the next slide, Joel. This is a look at our thought leaders. We have award-winning solutions, as you see in the middle, but all of our solutions are worth writing about, and we're on several covers of magazines as well as articles that we present our solutions and our thought leadership. Our leaders capture a lot of information, and we're excited about showing you one special solution today, which is the under vehicle surveillance system. All right, there's three solutions we'll talk about today. The primary one is on the bottom, the UVSS. I'll get into that. But they're supported by optional solutions. One of them's optional is FaceX, and that's our facial recognition solution. We have the ability to tie this in with a UVSS and identify individuals coming onto property at a military base, and we could set up a list of known threats or individuals that shouldn't be allowed, and we can deny them, or we can set up a list of these people are approved. Or we want to tie in their facial recognition information to the car, and that gets into SecurOS Auto, where our system can identify license plates, information, store that in a library of trusted vehicles, and identify them and assign that to the under vehicle that's scanned, so that we should have a library of information. It's not just checking up front on is this a system or a car that can come in that is safe. It's also data and information to look at for future visits. And then finally, the under vehicle surveillance system. It produces high-end quality images. We'll talk about it when we show a video, but we stitch several images together. It's patent-pending technology that we have and allows us to get a really high-quality scan where technology comes in and really just takes out the human element. It's also a very mobile system where we're used at the World Cup, where we've had large vehicles coming into parking lots adjacent to the stadium, and there's a high flow of traffic and pedestrians coming in, making sure that those are safe vehicles that come in. Same thing with the NCAA football playoff. We managed that last year and was able to secure locations near the event. Next slide. All right, well, here's what we're talking about today. This is a typical entrance of a military base. We're talking about securing this location and really just where the access points are at the perimeter. I mentioned earlier that I've been in aviation security for a little over 10 years. And something that I've heard on stage many times is if you've seen one airport, you've seen one airport. And that comes from someone who's a security director. It says, our location it might have some similarities, but it's really different in terms of what we need to do for security. And I thought I would ask my first question to our team, Colonel Boschert, Colonel Ballard, what are your thoughts on one airport? You've seen one airport compared to one military base. You've seen one military base. Is it similar in terms of our security posture?
I'll jump in. I'd say it is definitely similar, but one thing to note, the standards are going to be the same throughout the Air Force or, name the DoD facility. but each presents its own unique security requirements. Situations dictate, whether you got a direct access to that entry control point, or you got a good serpentine or something else set up there. So there's unique aspects to it, but I'd agree the standards are the same and there's a lot of similarities.
Awesome. Thank you. Good deal. All right, Colonel Ballard, anything to add, or are we moving on to the next one?
No, I agree. You'll notice when you do jump from base to base, they'll look a little bit different from each other, but by and large, the to Matt's point, the standards are pretty much the same. But each base has their own ability to explore technologies to enhance their posture where they can, budget allowing. So it's they can tinker around the edges and go above and beyond, but the standards are going to be the same.
Awesome. And based on my experience and what we have, we've created some marketing graphics. We'll go through different solutions, but the main thing is we have a very flexible solution, and depending on how you want to provide safety and security for your location, we're flexible and working with each location. So here's some of the challenges that I came up with based on experience. And these are challenges that an under-vehicle surveillance system can really help out with. There is some high traffic flow coming into military bases during peak hours. Assume there are people that aren't always living on the base that might work on the base, and there's bottlenecks, early morning, late afternoon, coming in and leaving work. Low visibility. The base has people entering it at different hours. Sometimes it's at night. We want to make sure that that you can see information on that vehicle and capture not only their face possibly, but their license plate, and get a good under vehicle scan. Always in high security, big threats faced with government complexes. Military bases are prime targets, and our solution really helps with that. And then we're not only dealing with that front entrance, we have that video on or that picture on. We're dealing with multiple points of entry. So how do we position and work with that? We have a solution. We'll talk about that. And then finally, we won't get into access control today, but our solution will seamlessly work with access control. Once a scan is complete and a threat is eliminated or determined it's not a threat, we can actually, through our console, through integration, open up gates and allow vehicles to pass through. I thought I'd ask Colonel Boschert and Colonel Ballard, any other thoughts to the challenges or what we're trying to deal with? Anything else you guys want to add?
Just one thing comes to mind on my end is when I was active duty, and Matt can attest to this, we harped on every airman being a sensor on a base. So everyone had to have the security mindset relative to our mission. And that has, human in the loop complacency can set in. So as you can apply technology appropriately, the technology doesn't get tired, and it doesn't have complacency built into it like humans do. So you can layer it in and enhance what we're all trying to accomplish as a team anyway. So yeah,
it's good.
Yeah,
thank you.
100%.
The airports used to say, if you see something, say something, right? It's a little different than active military who possibly could engage or be involved. Like, I like how you say sensor. I'd never heard it put that way, but that's really good. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, still introducing the challenge here. So here's the physical threats that have to do with military bases and vehicles coming on. One is suicide bombers. Somebody that's carrying an explosive or device that will want to detonate. This solution is going to help us find that up front before anybody penetrates or comes into the actual perimeter or breaks the perimeter at a military base. Armed intruders. We'll talk about that a little bit later. That could be somebody on foot, or that could be somebody who's trying to smuggle a weapon on base. It could be someone who is disgruntled workers. But I would just ask, team, do you guys agree this is the main threats we're focused on when we're looking at entry points for the essentially the front gate?
Yeah, I would agree. Of course, these are the extreme threats that nobody wants, but definitely this technology is going to attack these issues.
All right, good deal. Let's move on. Thank you, guys. Well, here's a look. We showed the initial gate, but this is our thoughts on our experience and what we've deployed. We have 2 lanes here. One lane coming in on the bottom has the under vehicle scanning system on it. But I'll back up and talk about the 2 cameras there. We have 2 cameras. One is an optional camera, and that's for facial recognition. If you want to tie a face to a vehicle that's coming in. The other is license plate recognition. That comes with a system. We'll show a little more details on the hardware as we get moving forward. But those 2 cameras work separately, but they all pull into the same data in the SecurOS platform. What we do deal with are windshields from time to time where we have glare, or it might be a nighttime approach with headlights. We have a very special camera technology that allows it to pick up, a face and see a good recognized view. Something that's a little bit misleading on the bottom line is the under vehicle surveillance system is right up next to that gate. You would actually see the car pull by, get a full scan before we would allow that onto the system. But one question I want to ask the team here is, I've seen it where Air Force bases, military bases, they want the under vehicle scan on one lane where they can direct those non-trusted, visitors to, and then someone carrying a CAT card or an airman lane, just, hey, we want to speed and get those guys through. Is this similar to what you've seen entering a base?
Yes, I would say, if you have the real estate, this gets back to what we mentioned earlier about every base is a little unique. But if you have the real estate, you're going to want to get your searches of those larger vehicles, commercial vehicles, pushed back as far as you can, and maybe even separated from normal day-to-day entry. So that's the first thing I would say. If you can get that somewhere else, maybe a little bit more of a out of the way location, that's the best scenario.
Okay, good feedback. All right, let's keep moving. I did want to mention we do support not only the front gate, right? We support like CVI, a commercial vehicle gate, and we are dealing with insider threats as well. And that's, when I come from aviation, that was the biggest threat, is someone that is known and trusted, has authorized access. They come on and, to sabotage, or maybe that's espionage, but there's some situations that we want to address with insider threats. And that could be a commercial vehicle, and those are large trucks. So we'll show a picture of that. A ramming attack, obviously, there's going to be some physical force or gates in the way and barriers that we want to address. But you do have to allow that, at times for vehicles to pull on. And let's show the next slide here. And this would be the look, I believe, of a commercial vehicle gate. So we would also recommend having a under vehicle surveillance system here. You see it's a much larger truck, could carry a much higher explosives, but this might be on the side or a rear gate, and maybe it doesn't have facial recognition, but we are tracking a license plate. So here's another thought that I just wanted to share with the teams of another design. All right, if there's any thoughts, go ahead and chime in, guys, but we'll keep moving forward and get to the look and feel of the solution. So here's how it's all set up. This is actually a mobile system, just like we used at the World Cup. It's very similar, but you see we have rugged PCs on the side. It is connected to power. So with our kit, we have speed bumps that we attach to the road on the side of the vehicle scanning system, and then the wires will run through that. You see we have a tripod set up, or that could be mounted to a pole that does the license plate recognition or facial recognition. But this is really simple to set up if maybe we had a remote or a military base that needed something that was mobile. That's an option for us as well. We have 2 different part numbers. Do you guys think this would fit in military for mobile?
100%. The first thing that comes to my mind would be like air shows and different events that are going to large gatherings. You might need to set one of these up and, you know, in a location that's not really a day-to-day entry control point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
you
might
could
be a new
also-
location coming in. I'm sorry,
Well,
Colonel
I
Ballard.
would say you could also envision it being in a deployment kit where you know, if you have to lay down in a place when you're going bare base, you could potentially, you know, work this off a generator and have this type of capability at a bare base or a base that's cold. Maybe there's infrastructure there, but it's not manned, and you're standing it up for a temporary thing. So there's that as well from a mobile perspective.
That's awesome. And, you know, there's satellite technology where people are doing direct calls when they don't even have a cell signal. That technology is coming. So mobile environments around this are really supportive. All right, let's see a video. We have 2 videos of the actual under surveillance system. First one's a UPS truck with a scan. I'll just say as it pulls forward, a steady, slow-moving car or truck that comes through will get detected. Here's the guard shack to the side that takes the approximately 110 images and stitches them all together. We'll get into what that simple interface does for you. But let's watch the next video. On this one, with the white truck, you'll see the lights light up when the undercarriage is detected. So all those LEDs that we have are taking several images. You see them flashing there. And it doesn't take long to stitch that all together and allow the operator to review. Again, great technology. It removes a human element. You got hot pavement. You've got low light conditions. The LEDs, as you can see, really put in a nice scan there for the system. All right, we'll move on to the next slide. Wanted to ask the team, you hear this term zero trust, but in military bases, you got to have some trust. You know, you have airmen coming on from time to time. What are your thoughts on security postures when you have a trusted person or and you're dealing with? Any thoughts on that and how you can improve or give the experience to people that are known?
Yeah, so I would say, you know, it's the standard answer. It depends. If you're in a normal kind of security posture, you know, there are definite ways you can improve flow through by having a trusted traveler kind of scenario where you're only scanning, you know, the ones that require it, and that is hugely helpful. As security threats or security postures go up, maybe that comes into play a little bit less. Yeah.
If someone has an active CAT card, they're in their database system, they go through the lane, they pass that. I think that's a really good standpoint. On top of that, you can keep the same experience. What you're seeing over to the right is the ability of our solution to still scan, pull up a previous image from the day before, and look at an anomaly of today. There's a foreign object detected. We highlight that in orange. We'll see a real picture of that a little closer up on the next slide. But we're able to provide efficiency, but still do some zero trust with. But yeah, obviously, if there's a trusted environment, thank you, Colonel Boschert, for sharing that. You need to have some trust where there is where it has been earned. Okay, next slide. I think it goes a little bit zero in. This is just a high-level look, and I don't want to steal thunder of Kenny, who's going to go into the operating system and show the system work. But this is simple. It's exactly what you need. The car coming in to the base where you get the license plate and you get the view of it, so you have that recorded. The underneath vehicle scan, and then over to the right is not only the license plate graphic that's generated, but it's also all the library of scans that you've had that day. So if there is a suspect on property or something that you need to go back and look at, here's a look. But I won't get too much into this because we're going to let Kenny go through a demonstration of that. All right, next slide. Just high level, as we mentioned, that foreign object that appeared. Your operators, we've done this for several years. We have pictures of a library of handguns, hand grenades, what it looks like with duct tape attaching a package underneath the vehicle for terms of smuggling. If there's a foreign object detected and it's not part of the standard vehicle undercarriage that we know, like a muffler, it is going to detect that and highlight it in orange for that operator to see right away. And if the previous scan of the day before with that car that came in with the same license plate, there's something that's changed, it's going to highlight that object. So it does improve efficiency and it does highlight that information. All right, thank you. Next slide. All right, Kenny, we're going to let you go over what I call the wow factors, the image stitching, the SecurOS solution, and what your operators are going to see. If you don't mind, we'll let you handle the next slide. Thanks a lot.
All right. So what you guys are going to see in this video is basically the ability of the UVSS and how it can capture the undercarriage. So as we all know, it allows you the ability to look for anomalies underneath the vehicle. The many features designed for you in mind is to be able to look at the fine details behind that stitched image. All right. You will see in the video attached the driver going over the UVSS and the security officer at the workstation basically viewing the passage and zooming in to view what would be considered the two-stitch image, which we'll be highlighting shortly. And basically gives you the ability to look in fine detail of exactly what is in the undercarriage. You can see the two-stitch image there. One is the previous vehicle entry, which we would define that as the first vehicle passage. And then any passages after the fact, you'll see it will be listed in the bottom. As you can see, there's a red bounding box around what we would classify that object as a bomb. Now, the many different objects that we can classify is a handgun, any unidentified object, and we can also classify bombs, grenades, and so forth. So basically that takes away the need of having to do the initial investigation. It'll basically, again, create a red bounding box around the area. We also have what we would call a 3D magnifier that basically provides a 3D aspect ratio of the actual image, and it allows you to look inside the nooks and crannies of within that under vehicle image. We also have a magnetic sensor, which basically provides a magnetic overlay. And consider if you have a package that has a magnet on it and basically stick into the metal of the undercarriage, we have the ability to detect that as well. Now, how you would want to utilize that data would be at your discretion. If you wanted to, let's say you receive an image of an object and it comes in, you could, and how you want to utilize that as an alert from an alert standpoint, right? So you can use this as a text message. You can send out a text message. You can send an alert to security detail and so forth. You know, it's a fully customizable solution for you.
Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate that. And if there's some questions, we're going to have that at the end, and we're getting very close to the very end. Any thoughts or any feedback, Colonel Boschert or Ballard?
Well, one thing that comes to mind from my perspective is I could see this, and this is just my aircraft maintenance, cranium talking, thinking out loud. Is you could apply this to other things, like if you have a large fleet of vehicles or support trailers, this could give you a high-res undercarriage image of your fleet every time they go out and back, just from a maintenance and sustainment standpoint. So it could be a tool in addition to the security posture.
Thank you for that. And we have enterprise organizations, not to mention them now, but they have issues where a truck will come onto property, it'll leave, and someone will file a claim and say it was damaged. And they're putting these devices in and say, hey, well, here's the scan as you entered, here's the scan as you leave, and it's really considering how much they're spending. So that's good. Thank you for sharing that. There's multiple uses. We didn't really show an up-close picture of the actual scanning unit. But this is the look. You see the LED lights, but it's very easy. When I say easy to deploy, we can install this in essentially a day and get it up and running. There is some tests that we want to do with it, but it's a simple mobile device that we can get out there and install. The next thing, it's easy to maintain as well. On the next slide, again, no physical sensors are needed for it to scan. It will actually, through video, through the camera, detect an undercarriage and start the scanning and pull those images together. That means there's no waste, and that the image that you get is going to be very clean from beginning to end, so you can zoom in and get the highest resolution. And then next slide, I believe it gets into durability and the weight that you could put on this, up to 30 tons on the exterior part of this actual system. And if you have someone who's a really poor driver that drives over the camera dome, that's up to 3 tons that it can cover. So these systems are designed to go in for approximately 5 years and then possibly be replaced at that time. Of course, we'll have new technology then, but very durable. And then finally, a question does come up from time to time. Well, what about the system when it gets oil dropped on the camera, or the housing, or how do we handle that? We have an option or external device that will spray and clean, even from a remote location, from the SOC or the team, the operator team that's pulling that up. So we can clean that system and provide instruction for that as an option. Okay, next one, we'll move forward. We're not going to get too much in this today, but we do have a neural analytic and video intelligence where we can utilize facial recognition for pedestrians that are entering the facility. If we can work with access control and allow them to walk in through a sidewalk on a gate, beside the main entrance. It also has the capability, and talking to my team that's the expertise helping me today, from time to time, we might have a suspect on site that enters the base. That might be the threat we were talking about. And we have the capability of, facial detection, a do not enter list, where we can detect somebody and provide the location where they're at. Any thoughts on suspect tracking or the ability to get in and off the base? Do you guys want to add to that?
It's pretty straightforward.
All right, next slide. Thank you.
Matt, were you trying to say something?
Nope.
Yeah.
Good.
And again, the under vehicle solution's a little different, but if we're looking at doing analytics and you want to capture an alert of maybe someone outside the base is carrying a weapon, or there's a group of people gathering, or there's loitering, this is how the actual system will work. If you see column number 1, you see someone performing a graffiti on video. Our camera will detect whatever that alert is. It's been trained to do, whether it's a weapon or it's someone doing graffiti. And in the next column, it'll bring that live video feed as an alert into the system. And you can see there's several alerts that have gone there. And someone can review this in real time, or they can come in at a later time and search for any particular alert, if that's their area of expertise, and review them one by one, export video that's needed, send that to law enforcement, send that to someone in security at the base if needed. And then finally, on third column, we have a dispatcher, and that is an add-on system, but we're able to look at each alert and do a predetermined plan. Who do we call if someone has been spotted with a weapon outside the gates, or who do we call if there's a suspect that has entered and we need to address this situation? We have a dispatcher tool that takes out the human element of them making a determination. It gives you contact information and direction on where to move forward. And then finally, analytics are really an important part. How well are we doing and performing with our security for these solutions, and what type of reports need to be generated so we can continue to improve. Okay, next slide, Joel. We are a manufacturing vendor, so we do manufacture the under vehicle surveillance system. We do manufacture a camera called the Modus that can capture license plates at vehicles going 155 miles per hour. Probably not a situation, entering the gates that are needed, but if there needs to be work with local law enforcement, or there's a large military base and you're wanting to capture information within on roads, we certainly can work there. But yes, comprehensive on hardware too. Next slide. And I think that's it. And we certainly want to open up for questions, but thank you for your attendance today. Let's open it up and see if there's some questions. Joel?
Yeah, thank you, Russ. As you mentioned, we've reached the time in today's program for Q&A. And again, you can submit a question using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And we've had a few questions roll in throughout the course of the presentation today. Just when it comes to, I think I'll pose this one to Colonel Ballard and Colonel Boschert, whoever wants to, take this. But what emerging trends are you seeing when it comes to vehicle surveillance, vehicle screening within military and high security installations?
Well, I was going to comment on this earlier, so this is a great time if I can. The last couple of slides that were just on the screen, talking about license plate readers, facial recognition, the ability to look at different actions such as the graffiti. Those are all cutting edge technologies that I know they're going to get better and better, and we as a community, whether it's the Department of Defense or aviation industry, you name it, we're going to need all of that. It's not really just a single thing. It's all together. And I love where you all are going with the technology for UVS, but also being able to apply those other technologies with it, because it is not going to be just a single solution.
Awesome.
Yeah, if I could add an observation onto that, the organizations that I ran were large, manpower intensive, and so if you have issues at the main gate, you could have a slow, an inefficiency of getting people on and off the base. You don't want it. You want to try to make that as efficient as possible so that you can have your airmen on work on time, but not have a drop off in your security posture. So I think leveraging technology is going to be able to that would be a side benefit of this, would be getting people through at high volume more efficiently, but having it at the same standard, if not even a higher standard of security screening that goes on. So that to me, it's a force enhancement, force multiplier in a couple of different ways.
Interesting.
Colonel, here's another question. I'm going to direct this one to Russ and Kenny, and that is, what lessons have been learned from past UVSS implementations in military and military type environments, and what are some of the best practices for using a UVSS system, when it comes to maximizing its effectiveness?
I can think of a couple. Some of them are installation and planning on where the system needs to go, and making sure there's enough space for whatever type of vehicles you have come across, that they can get the complete scan before they have access or entry in. Those are things that we will go out and consult with and make sure that we're located. And then making sure that we have enough planned to remove anything or a device that had been there before that might be dated, making sure we have that plan in place. Kenny, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's also an extra sense of an extra layer of security, I would think, right? To take the need of having to have someone with a mirror, to look underneath the undercarriage and basically provide that actual image of the vehicle, so that way it gives you an idea of what to expect when you're performing that investigation. So I think an extra layer of security is always good to have.
Yeah. Another thing we really help do is when we determine the resolution that is needed on the cameras, which we don't have to replace cameras in most cases. We'll talk about that if we have an opportunity from here. But the data retention policies, once we know that information, we will provide a spec of the server or the controller that's needed. But we really can build a kit for you and have that ready to go. It's really helpful.
All right. Another question came in here. It's probably for you, Russ, and Kenny as well. This person wanted to know, they're already working or have their solutions in hundreds of military locations already. So they want to know, does your product integrate with existing video systems already installed? And can you use existing cameras with AI at the edge?
Yes, yes. I would say that in most cases, unless we really need to get to some resolution on license plate recognition or facial, we will use the cameras they have in place as long as the resolution is there. In terms of access control or video management solutions, Milestone, Genetec, just a couple, we work with those, and it's not a, it's a cohesion effort that we pull together. So yes, it's been our experience that we can work with what they have in place. Kenny, any additions to that?
No, you're on the money there, Russ.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Another one that came in, I think I will direct this towards both Colonel Ballard and Colonel Boschert. And that is, can you share an example of an installation that benefited, be it military or otherwise, from implementing a UVSS? Do you have any, anecdotal, things you can share or anything like that?
Well, I've been involved in several applications at different locations throughout my career. I guess I think, Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas comes to mind. And I guess, this kind of goes back to the last question as well. One of the things, if anyone's out there thinking about, putting a system in and they're early enough in the process, I would just encourage you to get the right folks involved at the very beginning to think about the larger design of the inspection facility or area, because a lot of times this technology is amazing and a force multiplier, but you have to make sure that you've thought through the actual throughput, the volume of traffic, the layout, the structure, that you're going to put it into, to make sure it's large enough and designed efficiently, because that does play into these systems big time to make sure that they're as effective as possible. So just make sure you get those folks involved early in the process and help you out.
Awesome. Thank you, Colonel Boschert. And I'll add to that, some of the highest security threat locations in the United States are using our technology. I'm flying up next week to look at another location. So we're excited. It's one of our hot things that is moving forward. And it's not just military bases. It's, we don't have to mention what the highest, targets are. But, those locations are really strengthening and looking at this technology as well, which is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the questions that we have from the audience today. I want to close. I want to thank everyone who attended today's program, as well as Russ, Kenny, Colonel Ballard, and Colonel Boschert for sharing their insights on this topic.